The morning began like any other at Miami International Airport. The air buzzed with the usual symphony of boarding announcements, rolling luggage, and chatter from travelers eager to reach their destinations. Flight Atlas 209, a Boeing 777 bound for Los Angeles, was nearly ready for departure. The crew was smiling, greeting passengers at the gate. Children were clutching their toys, businessmen typing furiously on laptops, and couples planning vacations to California's coast. No one could have guessed that this would be the flight the world would never forget. Among the passengers was Ethan Cole, a former Air Force rescue officer who had recently retired after 2 decades of service. He'd seen war, disaster, and chaos before, but none of it would compare to what awaited him at 30,000 feet. Ethan sat in seat 14A, window side, watching the runway lights blur as the engines roared to life. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm, steady, routine. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight Atlas 209. Estimated flight time to Los Angeles is 5 hours and 20 minutes. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. The plane rolled forward, gained speed, and took off into the blue Florida sky. For the first hour, everything was peaceful. Flight attendants served drinks, laughter echoed through the aisles, and the clouds outside stretched endlessly. The passengers had no reason to fear. But deep below, in the cargo hold, something was moving. Something massive. A dull, rhythmic thud echoed through the floor of the aircraft. At first, no one noticed. The engines drowned out the sound. But one of the flight attendants, Maya Torres, paused mid-step when she felt the faint vibration under her feet. She looked down, puzzled. Probably turbulence, she told herself, and kept walking. Then came another sound, a scraping, a hiss, a sound that didn't belong 30,000 feet in the air. Minutes later in the cockpit, the co-pilot frowned at a red light blinking on the console. Pressure fluctuation in Cargo Bay 3, he said. The captain, Laura Briggs, a veteran pilot, glanced over. Temperature 2? The co-pilot nodded. Dropping fast. Laura adjusted the controls. Might be a leak in the refrigeration system. Let's keep an eye on it. But in the belly of the plane, the truth was far more terrifying. A 200-foot-long anaconda, black-scaled and muscle-bound, coiled tightly around a shattered shipping crate. Its yellow eyes reflected the blinking warning lights as it uncurled its massive body, flexing like a living nightmare. The crate had been loaded by mistake, part of a secret military biotransport gone wrong. The manifest listed it as scientific equipment, but inside had been something far worse, something alive. The beast slithered forward, its body scraping the metal floor, and with a sudden strike, it smashed its head against the cargo hatch. The metal bent inward. The second strike tore it open. The sound echoed through the cabin above. Passengers turned their heads, confused. "What was that?" a woman asked. Before anyone could answer, the floor near row 25 cracked open. With a thunderous roar and the sound of metal splitting apart, the Anaconda burst through the aisle, its massive coils flinging debris into the air. People screamed as oxygen masks dropped and drinks flew across the cabin. "Oh my God!" someone shouted. The serpent's jaws opened wide, its tongue flicking as it surveyed the chaos. Then, in one horrifying instant, it struck, snapping a man from his seat and dragging him down into the hole it had created. Blood sprayed against the windows. Screams filled the air. Panic spread like fire. "Everyone stay back!" yelled one of the flight attendants, but her voice was drowned out by the cries. The Anaconda re-emerged, its tail thrashing through the cabin, smashing seats and breaking the overhead bins. Luggage rained down. The plane shook violently. In the cockpit, alarms went off. "Cabin breach," the co-pilot shouted. Laura's eyes widened. "What the hell is happening back there?" She turned on the internal camera feed, but all she saw was chaos. The passengers were scattering, some trying to climb over seats, others frozen in fear. Laura grabbed the radio. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Atlas 209. We have a catastrophic situation on board, preparing for emergency descent." Back in the cabin, Ethan Cole was already moving. His instincts kicked in. Everyone stay low! Don't move! He shouted, pulling a young boy under the seat with him. The snake's massive head swung in their direction, its eyes glimmering in the dim light. Ethan grabbed a metal rod from the luggage compartment and struck it across the snout. The creature recoiled, hissing furiously. He turned to Maya. The flight attendant crouched beside him. We need the crew. Anyone still alive? Get them up front. Maya nodded, trembling. There's a first aid kit near the galley. And emergency flares. Good, Ethan said. We'll need light and fire. The plane lurched violently as Captain Briggs began a rapid descent. The oxygen masks swung, passengers clung to anything they could. The Serpent's tail smashed against the fuselage, tearing a hole near the emergency exit. Air screamed through the cabin. The temperature dropped instantly. Brace for impact! Briggs shouted over the intercom. Ethan looked around. The passengers were in chaos. Some praying, some crying, others frozen in shock. He forced himself to stand, gripping the seats for balance. The snake lunged again, this time toward the cockpit door. Ethan raised the flare, clicked it on, and the red flame burst to life. The creature recoiled at the light, hissing violently. Its scales shimmered like oil in the glow. Come on, you bastard, Ethan growled. He hurled the flare directly at its face. The Anaconda snapped at it, the flame igniting part of its scales. It roared, a deep, thunderous hiss that shook the cabin. The pilots fought to stabilize the plane. Altitude dropping 10,000 feet, the co-pilot shouted. Nearest runway is Baton Rouge, Laura said. We can make it if we keep her steady. But keeping steady was impossible with a monster tearing through the fuselage. The Anaconda's tail slammed into the cockpit door again, bending the metal inward. Laura turned, eyes wide as the hinge snapped. Hold it! Ethan yelled, rushing forward. He slammed his shoulder into the door, holding it shut as the Serpent rammed again. Maya grabbed the intercom. Everyone, get to the rear of the plane, now! Passengers stumbled over seats, clutching children and loved ones as they retreated toward the back. Ethan shouted, Captain, drop the cabin pressure! Laura's eyes went wide. That'll knock everyone out! It'll slow it down, Ethan yelled back. Do it now! Laura hesitated, then hit the switch. The cabin pressure plummeted. Oxygen masks whipped through the air. The wind howled like a hurricane inside the aircraft. The Anaconda recoiled, disoriented, its massive body thrashing wildly. Ethan grabbed a safety harness and clipped it to the wall, pulling Maya close. Hang on! The plane shook violently. Loose luggage and debris flew across the cabin. For a moment, it worked. The Anaconda slowed, its movement sluggish. Altitude 2,000 feet! The co-pilot shouted. Runway in sight! Laura clenched her jaw. Hold on! This is gonna be rough! The landing gear dropped. Sparks erupted as the plane hit the runway at Baton Rouge International Airport. Tires screeched, metal screamed, and the aircraft bounced violently before skidding to a halt. For a few seconds, silence. Then came the sound, a low, angry hiss. The Anaconda was dead. The cabin. Ethan unhooked himself, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and ran toward the forward door. Maya, open the hatch. She fumbled with the lever, pushed it hard, and the emergency slide deployed. Get them out! Ethan shouted. All passengers, move! The survivors scrambled toward the slide, sliding down to the top.
Cargo code, scientific equipment, reality, pure terror. Engines fail.
The snake lunged, and he dove aside, spraying the extinguisher.
The Serpent wasn't supposed to survive re-entry,
Ethan grabbed a fallen flare gun, aimed,
but it
and fired.
did.
The flare shot directly into the creature's open jaws. For a split second, everyone then an explosion.
The only thing deadlier than the fall is what's waiting inside.
The Serpent crashed, its massive tail slamming against the fuselage before finally collapsing into the air. Fire trucks racing, spraying foam across the wreckage. Ethan stumbled out through the smoke, coughing, his face burned and covered in soot. Maya ran to him.
The
helping him down the
Serpent
slide.
that should have stayed buried returns to rule the clouds. The flames died down. Mayday! Mayday! This is Atlas 209. We're
Something
not
shifted
alone
inside the
up here
wreckage.
because of
Beneath the
Anaconda
scorched debris,
snake.
a section of the surface just once before going
A
still.
serpent that
Hours
should
later,
have
the
stayed
runway reported
buried
newscasts
returns
surrounding
to
the area as
rule
authorities
the
scrambled to explain what
clouds.
happened. Reporters called it the Sky Serpent incident. The footage from terrified passengers would soon go viral, watched by millions around the world. Ethan sat on the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket, staring into the distance. A police officer approached him. "Sir, they're saying it came from a classified cargo crate." "Military transport. No one's taking responsibility yet." Ethan looked up, his eyes dark. They better find out who did this. Because if there's one of them... He glanced toward the burning wreckage. There could be more. As the camera crews panned over the shattered remains of Flight Atlas 209, a dark shape drifted in the background, far out over the Louisiana marshlands. A ripple in the water, a hiss, and a single massive scale breaking the surface before vanishing beneath it.